I never thought the day I had dreamed about since I was 15 would end up being the ugliest, most humiliating day of my life. My wedding day wasn't supposed to be like this. It wasn't supposed to feel like a setup, a cruel punchline to a joke I didn't know I was part of. But I should have seen it coming, because I had already ignored every red flag that my boss's son, Ryan, waved in front of me. I worked at a marketing agency in downtown LA. I had climbed my way up from being the intern who fetched coffee to managing campaigns for brands that people actually cared about. The agency was owned by this man named Richard, a smooth-talking, sharp-suited veteran of the industry who was both intimidating and strangely fatherly. But then there was Ryan, his golden boy son. Ryan had never earned a single thing in his life. He just walked into the office one day, made himself creative director, and started barking orders like he was the genius behind the company. Everybody hated him, but everyone tolerated him because he was the boss's son. Except me. I didn't exactly bow down to him, and maybe that's why he had this weird obsession with trying to break me. But here's where the story gets twisted. I was getting married to Elena, the girl I'd been with for 5 years. She was perfect for me. Loyal, funny, someone who saw past the chaos of my life and made me believe that no matter how messy the world got, there was still something good in it. She worked as a teacher, and she kept me grounded. The wedding had been planned for months, every little detail checked twice. It was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. And then Ryan showed up. I didn't invite him, of course not. Why would I want that smug face anywhere near me on a day that was supposed to be sacred? But apparently, when your dad is the owner of the company, you find ways to worm yourself into people's lives whether they like it or not. My boss, Richard, was invited. He'd been supportive of me, even gave me time off to prep for the wedding. And Richard decided to bring Ryan along as his +1. When I saw Ryan walk into the venue, slick hair, expensive suit, that smug grin plastered on his face, my stomach dropped. I knew he wasn't there to celebrate. He was there to watch me squirm. At first, I tried to ignore him. Elena was glowing, and when she walked down the aisle, everything else melted away. For a moment, it really was perfect. We said our vows, kissed, the crowd clapped, and I thought maybe, just maybe, Ryan wouldn't ruin this. But Ryan doesn't let people breathe. It was at the reception, right when I was about to give a toast. The music faded, the crowd quieted, and I stood up, champagne in hand, ready to tell everyone how grateful I was for Elena and for the life we were about to start. That's when I heard Ryan's voice, loud, cutting through the air like a blade. "Hey, before you start," he called out, grinning at me like a predator, "I think everyone should know something." The crowd turned. My chest tightened. Elena squeezed my hand, whispering, "Ignore him." But he didn't stop. He walked to the middle of the floor, raised his glass, and said, "I know today's a special day, but unfortunately, it's also your last day at the agency. Effective immediately, you're fired." Gasps rippled through the room. Elena's face went pale. My mother, sitting at the front, clutched her pearls like this was a soap opera playing out in real life. I said through clenched teeth, "Ryan, this isn't the place. Sit down." He just smirked. "Oh no, this is exactly the place. You see, everyone needs to know who you really are. You're not some hotshot manager. You're nothing without this job. Nothing." Elena stood up, furious. "Get out! You don't belong here!" But Richard, the boss, the father, didn't stop him. He just sat there sipping his wine, eyes cold, almost like he wanted this. I felt the blood rushing to my head. My wedding day, my new wife, my family, my friends, all of them staring at me like I'd just been stripped naked in front of them, fired, humiliated, destroyed. But here's the thing about me. When I'm cornered, that's when I bite. I didn't scream. I didn't punch him, even though every part of me wanted to. Instead, I walked over to Ryan, leaned close enough so only he could hear, and I whispered, "Enjoy this moment, because it's the last time you'll ever get to stand above me." He laughed in my face, but I wasn't bluffing. Over the next few weeks, while Ryan gloated around the office about how he'd crushed me, I went to work. Not at a new job, not at a company. I went to work on revenge. I had dirt on Ryan. I had kept it buried because I thought maybe one day he'd grow up. Maybe one day he'd stop being his father's spoiled shadow. But I had files. Emails where he'd stolen ideas from other agencies, texts where he bragged about sleeping with clients to close deals, financial reports that didn't add up, and the piece de resistance? A video of him screaming at an intern so viciously that she'd quit on the spot. He didn't know I was recording. It took time, but slowly I started to stitch it all together. I built a case so airtight even his father couldn't protect him. Then I leaked it anonymously, not to the press. No, that would have been too public, too slow. I leaked them directly to the company's biggest clients, the ones who brought in the most revenue. The fallout was instant. Calls came flooding in. Contracts were canceled. Richard's empire, the one he'd built over decades, started crumbling. Not because of me, but because of his son. And Ryan? He was done. Fired this time, for real. Not even Daddy could save him. When the news finally broke, I was sitting in my tiny apartment with Elena, eating takeout on the floor because we couldn't afford furniture yet. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. It was Ryan. "You think you've won? You've got no idea what you've started." But I didn't care. I had my life back. A week later, I got an offer from one of the clients who left the agency. They wanted me to head up their new marketing division. A better job, better pay, more freedom. The irony wasn't lost on me. Fired at my wedding day by a spoiled brat, and now I was the one rising from the ashes while he drowned in them. But here's the thing I've learned. Revenge doesn't end nicely. Even when you win, it leaves scars. Sometimes I wake up at night replaying that moment, Ryan's voice cutting through the room, the silence, the humiliation. I can still feel the weight of everyone's eyes on me. But then I look at Elena sleeping next to me, and I remind myself, he tried to ruin me on the happiest day of my life, and I still won. And if he ever comes back to try again, I'll be ready. Always ready.